needed and the attention that they needed. So we have definitely been blessed in having the sisters here with us, and the families have definitely been blessed with the service that these sisters have given during these 75 years.
It's nicknamed Urban Loop, and the daycare center is in the heart of old San Antonio. Mariachi music and lots of memories.
This is my home, my roots. Everybody has some kind of a background. This is my background.
When I was 3 years old, 1922, and I left on the Depression time in 1930.
I was treated very well. I have great memories, great memories. You know, the Christmas, oh, it was beautiful. I loved Christmas and Easter and all these holidays, you know.
The nuns were my family, my father and my mother, and I enjoyed it. I'm very glad that, that I was able to spend the time I did with them.
In California, it was the 50th anniversary for the Carmelite Home for the Aged in La Mesa, and Bishop Leo Maher of San Diego joined in the Jubilee Mass and celebration in October of 1988. In July of 1989, it was a different sort of celebration. A quadruple anniversary brought many sisters to Detroit. 4 sisters marked their jubilees, 3 golden and 1 silver.
We congratulate Sister Teresita, our own, and we welcome in the foreigners, Sister Mary Frances, Sister Leone, and the kid on the block, Sister Mary Magda, the provincial. You'll make it someday.
The Mass of Thanksgiving was offered in the chapel of the Carmelite Home for the Elderly.
Only the Lord can give you a just reward. We can only say thank you.
The Jubilarians brought the gifts to the altar, and the celebrant gave them a special thank you kiss of peace. After the Mass, the Carmelites and their friends honored the Jubilarians at a reception. Sister Teresita, Sister Leone, and Sister Frances observed 50th anniversaries, and Sister Mary Immaculata her 25th anniversary. Such celebrations are traditional with the Carmelites. They share the great moments of their lives with their community. 3 of the early American homes for children are now called treatment centers, and all are in the northern province, and they handle the problems of the big cities.
It is a difficult job today, working with delinquent boys, our children, children from broken homes, children who are in trouble. Those are treatment centers. They demand a great deal of attention.
Next to the Provincial Mother House in suburban Milwaukee is the Carmelites Pioneering Center for Boys in Trouble. They board 42 boys, and they have a long waiting list.
They come to us directly from the court, and they've all had parental rejection. They're from broken homes. They've done poorly in school, and most of them have engaged in antisocial behavior.
Sister Mary Regina has been administrator of the center from the start in 1967. She has a staff of 2 sisters and 32 lay people running the treatment center. As far as the boys are concerned, they like the sisters, especially at mealtime or snack time. Sister Mary Kathleen whipped up some tasty treats.
Brownies. Their dessert. They like their desserts.
Actually, Sister Kathleen is in charge of senior boys at the treatment center, and the kitchen is not her normal station.
Sometimes I do some baking with the boys. I don't make their meals, but if somebody's sick or there's a need, I fill in, like a typical mother would do. So. Wherever they work, in whatever country or ethnic region, the Carmelites of the Divine Heart of Jesus bring a deep spirituality to their work. Father Kramer believes they're a vibrant part of the mystical body of Christ.
The compassion that Christ had for the poor, for those who were without leaders, that would be continued now through members of the mystical body, to Mother Mary Teresa of St. Joseph and her sisters. being imbued with the same spirit, with the same compassion.
The Carmelites live in community, united by a common bond of love and pursuit of holiness. Together, they pray, they work, they eat, they relax, and they plan as a family, headed by their various superiors. The Carmelites of the Divine Heart of Jesus wear the habit and brown scapular of Our Lady of Mount Carmel, and they follow the example of St. Teresa of Avila, the great Carmelite of the 16th century. It was St. Teresa, with the Carmelite St. John of the Cross, who reformed the order and turned their monasteries and convents into fortresses of contemplation, renunciation, and self-denial. Their motto, God lives, I stand in his presence. As a result, prayer is the sacred duty of a Carmelite, and their prayer life is based on 1. The Scriptures, 2. The Eucharistic celebration, and 3. The divine office or liturgy of the hours. The sacred scriptures deepen their knowledge of truth. The Eucharist constitutes the center of their community life, and the divine office calls Carmelites to reflect at different times of the day on God's living presence in his church. Carmelites venerate Mary as their queen and their mother. She is the prototype of faith and the ideal of the most perfect union with Christ, her Son. In the solitude of the cloister, the sisters continue the Carmelite devotion to Mary and love of St. Joseph. Unlike their older counterparts who remain in cloister, the Carmelites of the Divine Heart of Jesus venture into the world. The sisters have an active apostolate. It's a new form of Carmelite life, daily service to people outside the cloister, yet always true to the spirit of Carmel. Their foundress created homes for the homeless, and the sisters care for children and the elderly in those homes. And the emphasis is on homes, not institutions. When they first come to Carmel, postulants wear a simple jumper and blouse. They live with and learn from the sisters at the various mother houses. Postulancy ranges from 6 months to 2 years, while the young woman decides whether or not she has a vocation, and the Carmelites decide whether or not she is right for community life.
If a girl feels called, I think they have a very rich life of prayer. And then they also have their apostolate, the work that they do.
Once accepted, young women enter the Carmelite novitiates at different mother houses. They wear white veils and the brown habit, and they're assigned to the mistress of novices. In the southwestern province, Sister Mary Gertrude is novice mistress, and she sums up the 2 years of novice training.
It's really taking the hand of Our Lady of Mount Carmel, who is our mother, the beauty of Carmel, and walking with her in the footsteps of Christ.
And one of Sister Gertrude's novices is very direct in her enthusiasm.
You have to work and sacrifice and grow in your love of God and be willing to surrender yourself, the image of yourself and your ego. Empty yourself and have the love of Christ be totally consumed within you. And it's scary, but it's well worth the price.
At the end of novice training, the young sister makes her first profession of vows. A native of Vietnam, Rose Kim exchanged her white veil for the black and white veil of a Carmelite of the Divine Heart of Jesus. The superior of the Central Province, Sister Andrea, received her into the order as Sister Angela Therese on the Feast of the Immaculate Conception in 1988. Carmelites profess or renew their vows on either December 8th or the anniversary of the founding of the order, July 2nd. Carmelites take the vows of chastity, poverty, and obedience. These vows are based upon the words and example of Jesus, and they imply a renunciation of worldly values, but they do not stunt the human personality. Entering the convent has an entirely different effect.
Because you're free, in a sense, to experience God's charism through yourself, that you have certain talents, and to develop those. I know in myself I have so many things that I never knew I had. And it was a big surprise.
Sister Mary Judith has been a Carmelite for 25 years. Carmelite vows place the sisters at the service of God and the Church. They pledge to work for the building up of God's kingdom through prayer, penance, and active charity. In espousing chastity, the sisters obligate themselves, chaste and celibate, to a spiritual relationship as the bride of Christ, following the example of his mother in loving self-surrender for the work of redemption. The vow of poverty creates a simple lifestyle for the sisters and opens a complete trust in God and his mission. By freeing them of cravings for possessions, recognition, influence, and pleasure, Carmelite prayer life is enhanced and the sisters develop a special love for the poor. And the vow of obedience helps the sisters to follow the directions of their superiors, as Christ followed the will of his Father. The well-being of the community is rooted in religious obedience. At Kenosha, Wisconsin, their chaplain is deeply impressed. Father Anthony Jelnik is a refugee priest from Hungary.
I really love their spirituality, the prayerful life. They work beautifully with the elderly people as well as children here.
And the mystery of community life is that each Carmelite is her own person, rendering her unique service and contributing to the common good. Obviously, the sisters don't all think alike. Allowances are made for differences, and the differences enhance the harmony of the community rather than hamper it. After the foundress, Mother Mary Teresa, 4 other sisters have served in the role of Mother General in the 100 years of the Order's existence. The present Superior General, Mother Catherine, was elected in 1988 at the General Chapter or Assembly. Her term is 6 years or until the next chapter convenes in Sittard in 1994. Sisters from each of the provinces around the world take part in the General Chapter meetings. Collectively, they set the operational policies of the Carmelites in accordance with the Order's constitution and the general law of the Church. The Order is a congregation of pontifical right, and the Carmelites obey the Pope as their highest ecclesial superior, and the Sacred Congregation for Religious and Secular Institutes as their highest judicial authority. The sisters assembled in General Chapter elect their Superior General or Mother General, a General Secretary, General Treasurer, and 4 members of a General Council. Sister Filiberta represents Canada, the United States, and Latin America. Sister is a native of Toronto, Canada.
We are convinced that our congregation has something very important for our time.
Sister Filiberta accompanies the Superior General on her visits to the Western Hemisphere, acting as interpreter. During a 1990 visit to St. Louis, Mother General, Sister Filiberta, and Sister Andrea met with Archbishop John May, the former president of the United States Conference of Bishops. Sister Andrea handled the introductions since she is the superior of the Central Province of the Order and headquartered in St. Louis. Archbishop May's predecessor, Cardinal John Carberry, had no trouble meeting Mother General and Sister Filiberta. The Cardinal is convalescing at the Carmelite home in suburban St. Louis. The Cardinal suffered a stroke in 1989 and moved to the Carmelites' St. Agnes home. Cardinal Carberry is probably the most famous guest the Carmelites have at any of their homes.
And I love this home here with all the beautiful trees in it.
Milwaukee was another stop on Mother General's visit in 1990, and the occasion was a meeting with all of the Carmelite superiors from the United States, Canada, and Latin America. Mother General's travels and meetings follow the Carmelites' careful adherence to their constitutions and their rule. The congregation received the Decretum Laudis from Pope Pius X on May 9, 1910. Their first constitutions were given ecclesiastical approval by Pope Benedict XV on January 7, 1915, and final approbation for the Carmelites of the Divine Heart of Jesus as a congregation within the Church came from Pope Pius XI on May 12, 1930.
Cardinal Spellman of New York pays his obedience to the Pope.
With the Second Vatican Council called by Pope John XXIII, the Carmelites and most religious communities in the Catholic Church underwent changes.
We really followed the directions given by the Vatican Council. Our constitutions were constantly corrected and reworked. We have very good advisors. We had Father Kramer from Hills Corners and Father Edward, a Carmelite father. And then after he became ill, we had a Father Ladislaus, also a Carmelite father. So we had excellent advice.
In 1970 and 71, after the Vatican Council, the Carmelites met in their general chapter, and their Reformed chapter was joined, complying with Vatican II directives. Former Provincial Superior Sister Joanna attended those chapters.
And we all thought, now here we go with the others, but no, we decided, thrashed it through, and they said, no, we keep the habit. So